Welcome back to the 2023 verdict. We're joined this morning by Valentine, who is a special advisor to Peter Obi. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Pleasure.
Much talked about Lagos rally. It's come, it's gone. Mixed reactions about what transpired. What would yours be?
Mixed feelings. One, gratitude to God, thanking God for what a successful event it was. Despite all the intimidation, suppression, antics, you can see the organic love, the massive love that people show Peter Obi everywhere in Nigeria, Lagos especially. And on the other hand, very disturbed, very unfortunate that we've had to have victims in such a cozy atmosphere, such a loving serenity that we should have expected, but we got the opposite. And for me, I was there personally, and I saw your crew, as well as other media. They witnessed what happened. I visited some of those wounded. I spoke to them, and you could see the anger in them. But you know, one thing the opposition fails to realize, when they do things like this, they embolden, in fact, they reawake the spirit of answers in the younger generation. So they don't know what is coming. This is why I have a couple of pleas to make. One is to the government of the day, APC government, Sanwo-Olu government in Lagos State, and of course the agencies of the securities, to please do the needful to stop this type of behavior. Whatever things of this nature happen, we must hold people accountable. They must speak up. They must, I hear APC surrogates talking about Lagos is safe and all that. When things like this, even if it's an exception, what have you done about the exception? And I'm happy the way you've inquired, dug into the response it was given. What have they done to disown this, to disavow this? Because if something like this continues, you don't know what it's going to lead to. So it's important that we call on them to speak out and condemn these acts. They know it's their thugs that are responsible for this. They must condemn this act. And for us, like I said, the younger generation, they are ready for this election. So what I'm begging is that we don't allow things to escalate, because, quite frankly, nothing is worth the blood of any human being in this election.
So at that point, have you or the party been able to talk to the supporters and tell them, listen, well, this may have happened, it shouldn't have, but don't take laws into your hands?
All the time. Why do you think it didn't escalate? We are a responsible team. Why do you think something like this, when we have millions of Nigerians troop out, why do you think it didn't escalate? We reached out. I called a few friends. We called AIG. We did all that to calm the situation down ourselves. We spoke to them in the podium there. Calm down. Don't worry. And thankfully, going back to their various homes, we didn't hear any skirmishes anymore. But, what happened, you see people being stabbed, all parts of their body. It was very pathetic. And, for me, this level of desperation, we shouldn't descend to, honestly.
Can you give us a very clear picture of what transpired on Saturday? Because initially we had thought that there was just going to be a rally. I mean, the Labour Party had called it the mega rally,
yes,
to happen at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos, TBS. But on Saturday, we also heard that the candidate of the Labour Party, that's a presidential candidate, as well as the governorship candidate, were in Alaba. And from there, I think they did like a march of some sort all the way to TBS. Can you just give us an inkling of where this particular incident, because people were reporting all manner of things. If you follow social media, some said, oh, our buses were attacked, or others said, oh, we were stabbed on the way to this rally. So precisely where did this incident take place?
Most of these happen within the central areas in Lagos, from the CMS axis coming close to the TBS. So it wasn't even where His Excellency Peter Obi started the engagement from the Alaba down to a relay. Nothing happened on that axis, but just preventing people from, coming together at TBS. That was the target. And there were even road blockade and creating unnecessary traffic intentionally. We saw all this just to make sure they suppressed the crowd that was going to gather. It was the fear that eventually they couldn't succeed.
When you say creating unnecessary traffic?
No.
What
beyond the normal traffic of Lagos, when you have a vehicle blocking roads and you don't know why, and this vehicle remained there for a long time, couldn't be allowed to be pushed out. That's the point. There was a desperate and deliberate attempt.
They were not state officials. I mean, like state officials, sometimes when you have a crowd like this looks like, I don't know if this was on the road, but if you had a train moving from Alaba to TBS...
We're talking about two different axes now.
Indeed, but the point
when this happened,
is,
yes.
The train certainly would have created some traffic by itself on that day.
So
I'm wondering whether they were state official vehicles, perhaps trying to direct where the crowd should pass on that particular day.
No, what we're even talking about is totally different.
Okay.
In the morning, I left Abuja that morning on 6:30 flight. I landed in Lagos. From the airport, getting into Third Mainland Bridge and descending, we already started seeing the blockade. When Peter hadn't even left Abuja. So they're totally different things. So by the time he even got to Alaba, all of these things started happening. We already started getting the message and then I went straight to TBS to see for myself, long before the rally started. So this was just a deliberate, to send fears and shivers into people, don't come out, stay at home. And so, but unfortunately, again, look at the crowd.
The clarification I'm trying to get from you was whether those vehicles were state official vehicles.
No, they were not.
They were non-state actors?
Non-state actors, thugs everywhere.
Did you call the attention of the state government to this?
Well, you know, for us, the best thing to do is to call that attention of a security agency, which we did. Because calling an opposition to help you at this point in time, when you don't know if they're even directly responsible for what's going on, is a waste of time. We call straight personally. If other officials called government, I don't know. I personally made sure that we reached out to the AIG in charge of the zone, and that's what we did.
What was the response?
Actually, he responded promptly. When all that happened, eventually, at some point, there were sufficient security agencies across the area, and that's when things calmed down. So I must commend him for the response.
Right, and that's what we'd like to see. So did that affect the turnout?
It's possible. It is possible. But we were still satisfied with the number of people that came out and the emotion with which people spoke. I mean, listen to Maureen and Aisha Yusufu, listen to people were in tears because, quite frankly, the moment we started seeing this type of, the only thing that could come to mind was, again, the NSAS. And, you know, what I love is that every step the opposition takes, no matter how much they try to turn things around, they end up hurting themselves the more. I actually don't see any other party in Lagos State coming anywhere close to Labour Party's performance, especially this presidential election. That's what I see.
You've heard several people in the state say, your crowd was not even, they say it's a tip of the iceberg compared to what they will see when the state does their own campaign. They even went ahead to say, look, you couldn't even fill several areas. So I'm sure you must have heard a lot of those narratives.
Chamberlain, I beg of you, ask your crew in Lagos to do proper investigation. Nobody there was given anything. They came organically. There's a huge difference spending £1 billion, £500 million on campaign, and we just come out and people show love. I say, it means you are an imposition, you're buying your way out with ill-gotten wealth in most cases, and people coming to show, I mean, you know the story. Please, that's what we should be reporting. The love that follows Peter B.
Now, the thing about that is this. It's one thing to see this number of people come out for campaigns, but on election day itself, the dynamics are usually very different. So, how do you balance both?
Not in this case.
You think it'll be as much?
Actually, it will be more. Let me tell you this. When you give people reason to hope, when you inspire people, when they see, you know, let me tell you something. Go and check. The moment some of these people emerged as candidates of their parties, that's actually when the surge for INEC registration happened. Not again. There's a reason they are tired of the status quo, the old order. And they could have stayed on that queue, under the sun, waiting for the PVC to go back home and wait. No. So forget it. You'll be shocked by the level of turnout in this election. I can bet on it, any amount. So trust me, the Nigerian youths are ready. Get on Twitter Spaces, get on social media and see what they're saying. They are ready. On that day, anyway.
But ask you, I'm a little interested. Is there a reason why your candidate decided to go to Alaba?
For Peter Obi, he goes everywhere. Anywhere he has crowd he can speak to and convince more people. And this is the reason that, he's the first candidate to have toured the entire Nigeria. And so the same reason he would go to Kaduna and go to northern Kaduna and go to southern Kaduna. The same reason he would go to Adamawa and go to northern and southern. The same reason to make sure we're not even done yet. We'll still go to other places in Lagos. So they think we are done. We're not done. Oh, yes, we've covered.
This is not the wrap-up rally, because the impression we got...
This is the wrap-up mega rally. This is marking completion of the entire 36 states and FCT.
Indeed.
Does not mean we're done with... Tomorrow, we are in different locations in Nigeria. So what I'm saying to you is that we're going to keep making some stops.
Okay. You've confirmed to me, just what we had heard. So we thought this was you just confirmed that it was the final mega rally wrapping up the tour of the 36 states of the Federation.
Correct.
Was there a reason why he decided to? Because oftentimes, from what we've seen in most of the states he's been to, he goes to perhaps the palace of the traditional ruler to seek blessings, and often from there they would move to the venue of the campaign rally. That's the pattern we've seen in many states, and that's the pattern even many of the other presidential candidates have followed. But in this instance, he went to Alaba. Was there a particular reason he went to Alaba first before going to TBS?
Nah, it's logistics. As far as I'm concerned, it's still going to go. A couple of Obas within Lagos is still going to see.
Logistics?
Yeah. The planning of this election, as at a day before this election, they were even, are we going to shift it and all that? At the end of the day, he decided that he would get into TBS. On landing, maybe the planning hadn't been concluded. So he decided to take, Alaba wasn't even planned. Nobody was informed that he was coming, and you saw that crowd. Imagine if they got a few days notice, a day notice, that Mr. Santos was going to come. He wouldn't walk that street at all. So anyway, important thing here is that Peter Obi seizes every opportunity he sees to engage and to reach out, and that's what you see. So for the Oba, I know he has tremendous respect for him, and he's going to go see him at appropriate time when the schedule is fixed.
Not any other market, but Alaba.
Not only Alaba, by the way. He also stopped on Relay. It wasn't only Alaba he went to on that day. So just that stretch, and then heading to... And like I said to you, there are a lot of other markets. In Lagos, he's going to tour. And the same thing we did in, like in Anambra, for instance. The idea, he's only gone to Onitsha. He's going to go to Nnewi. He's going to go to other parts of Anambra. He's going to also go to other parts of, in fact, yesterday, it was in northern part of Nigeria.
You know why I asked this question?
Yeah.
You know that, when you talk about the semblance with other markets in, say for instance, Anambra, you say you only went to Onitsha. Lagos is a different kettle of fish in terms of how its markets are structured. You do know that oftentimes some markets are dominated by a particular ethnic group as opposed to other ethnic groups. Do you think that was why he went to Alaba first? Because he figured that he had a home base there, of his own ethnic grouping. Was that why he went there?
I keep saying this. Peter Obi engages everywhere. That he starts with Alaba does not mean he doesn't also going to show up in the other places. So I don't think we should dig further than what it means. He went there because there's a crowd enough to engage. Most of these things happen spontaneously. If it has a conversation with a leader of a particular market and say, we're ready, we can host you immediately, he can take a decision like that and go. So in terms of, ability to reach out to other parts of Lagos, we know how important Lagos is in electioneering period. And we know that Lagos has the most number of voters in Nigeria. and it's across all ethnic nationalities. P2B respects all, and it's going to attend to all. I can assure you, like I keep saying, he will go pay the courtesy required to the chiefs, and also visit other markets within Lagos. That is guaranteed.
We'll talk about the election day dynamics in a moment, probably. Let's bring in our colleagues in Lagos.
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain. Well, just very briefly, Mr. Ozigbo, in relation to Malkwe's question, there were reports earlier on amid the campaigns, that in Alaba, to be precise, there was a precondition by leaders of the market that the traders should get their PVC or they would not access their stalls. So I wonder if this, in line with the concern that Mr. Obi has a home base in Alaba market in Lagos, I wonder if his support base there, members there, viewing, their support for their candidate beyond, an ethnic lens. I wonder if, this is as objective as it can get, interrogating the candidacy of, Mr. Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
Thank you so much. The reality is what P2B has demonstrated is total detribalization in everything he has done. He's the only candidate that would go to, even in the Igbo land, I said to everyone, do not vote for me because I'm an Igbo man. In fact, what I've had to do is challenge the other candidates. I wish Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu can go to Yoruba and say, don't vote for me because I'm Yoruba. I wish Atiku Abubakar can go to the north and say, don't vote for me because I'm a northerner. So the important thing here is to see the personality of P2B. By going to Alaba, like I explained before, someone like me would have even liked to get to Alaba, but I didn't even know. That's the extent of spontaneity of that decision. And thankfully, it turned out extremely well because it's not only the Igbos he engaged from all of that stretch, from Alaba down to the Ojo area, down to Relay Gamu, and then before getting to the island. So for me, he cut across the length and breadth of Lagos on that axis. And on that axis, you'll find enough Yoruba people to speak to, enough Igbos to speak to. And yes, the starting point was Alaba. And like I keep saying, I don't think we should read more meanings than that. It's just seeing where enough crowd can gather, and that's the way it does. A lot of places actually goes uninvited. Once it sees I have an opportunity to engage here, educate people here, speak to them, I will go there. So that's the much I believe I can say at this point.
Well, we'll have to take your word for it. Now, let's talk about the, electoral component of the entire exercise with reference to what happened in Lagos on Saturday and indeed in other parts of the country. How concerned are you that, these pockets of violence will impact voter turnout in the coming election, starting with the presidential election?
I'm very concerned when I see people hurt. It breaks everybody of conscience heart. The reality is what you have seen, especially when you go closer to the victims and feel their pains, you can't but wish such thing never happened. So for me, whatever we have to do to ensure that there's no repeat, we must do. That's what I would say. It's important that we don't allow people to suffer more than they're already going through in Nigeria. Look at all the things we talk about, all the issues we talk about in Nigeria. Don't add to it. But is it going to affect turnout? Perhaps some people may get scared, but I know people of younger generation may even get more emboldened at that point. And this is why it can be dangerous when we perpetuate acts like this. And this is why we have to call on all the key stakeholders, from the international community to the local government. When I say local government, I mean government of the day, down to the security agencies, and down to the party leadership, to do whatever they can, speak to their members, and to abide by the rule of law. it's important and incumbent on all of us leaders to ensure that this is done and this communication is given. And the seriousness with which this is required must be emphasized. And this is why I don't know why it's taken APC government this long to speak out and condemn evils like this.
All right, so the thing about this now is election day dynamics. When you look at how the whole thing plays out, how are you approaching the fact that this will be a new experience for several voters who are going up to this time out? It will be a new experience for Labour Party. It will be a new experience for the candidates, the presidential candidate themselves. And for those who have been there before, they'll tell you, look, we know how some of these things play out. And then some will even go back to data. They say, look, we've always had young people across the country populate the voter register. But on election day, many of them don't come out. But you seem to be very optimistic that across the country, that this may be different. What informs your optimism?
Because what is happening today has never happened in the history of Nigeria. We've never seen such a movement. We have never seen where somebody would, not even an Obama movement I can compare with what is happening in Nigeria, pick up a dead party, a party that got only 0.02% in the last election. And
I don't think that the Labour Party will appreciate, or the NLC
I'm sorry.
will appreciate you calling the Labour Party a dead party.
So let me say this. I understand that sentiment, but the reality is that P2B has become an enigma in Nigeria today. He is leading a movement because the youths are tired of the status quo. I don't know if there's a way to emphasize being tired, not the T-I-R-E-D, T-A-Y-A-D, tired. That's how they are. And for them, they have said enough is enough. And there are signs to this. NSAS was the turning point. Oh, we actually do have powers. We never realized our powers. Now we do, and we're going to use it. You challenged us. Okay. Hang on. And then, for a long time now, since September, October, November, December, polls after polls keep demonstrating. So all of what you're talking about being polled. Who is going to come out? How many are going to come out? We see that about 30% of the people who are going to vote have never voted before. And not just those youths, even the older generation, people who had PVC before, that never came out. You're hearing people saying, I've never voted before, even I had PVCs before, but in this election, I'm coming out. Why do you think they're coming out? They're coming out for one person, not multiple people, one person only.
All right.
And so you're going to see this happen. And that's why, if you look at this election, what I'm fascinated by is that there's a lot of myths that are being destroyed, even the so-called tribal and religious myth. Today, one of the polls that came out last week showed P2B already ahead in 4 states in the southwest, where Tinubu is from: Lagos, Ogun State, Ekiti, and Oyo State. The three biggest.
You consider that a reliable poll?
Do you know what? I challenge you, Chamberlain. I challenge Channels Television. You take your crew, take Arise, take TVC. 3 of you go round those states and make your own random inquiries. One person already did that, and in Ogun State, and I'm happy to share this after this interview. You will see the results.
All right, we need to go, but just quick one. What is this narrative about 2 billion naira to Can? Did it happen?
Why would you ask this type of question? You should know a fake news from a distance. And all of that's already been disproved. For me, I wish we had enough time talking about P2B's issue, manifesto, and what it's going to do. But
we'll make our time for that.
The total hogwash.
But the thing about that is this: when those kind of narratives are out there, they need to address them and nip them. But because if they don't, they will just...
They've been addressed.
Because all over the
They've been addressed. Khan has issued statement. The person who was alleged to have said this has come to deny. They actually just did all kinds of nonsense just to portray P2B. They couldn't find any single thing to hold down P2B.
All right.
So they will always manufacture stuff. And please do a bit of due diligence, and so that You actually help in disseminating the right information.
That's why you're here. That's why we're asking you. So that let them hear directly from you, not us. We didn't say it's your party.
And please,
we are not in Labour.
APC, PDP, stop this. Stop this fake news.
Well, Mr. Valentine, especially